If a billion people worship the same religion, why do some of them believe Vishnu is God, others believe Shiva is God, and others believe God is a woman? That is not a contradiction. That is Hinduism working exactly as it was built to work. And by the end of this video, you will understand why 4 different gods can all be the supreme one, without a single one of them being wrong. Most people outside India assume Hinduism is one religion with one God, the way Christianity has Christ or Islam has Allah. That assumption collapses the moment you actually look at it. Scholars who study global religious demographics don't describe Hinduism as a single tradition at all. They describe it as a family of religions, held together under one roof, called Sanatana Dharma, the eternal way. According to Hinduism, today's long-running scholarly summary, this family has 4 principal denominations: Shaivism, Shaktism, Vaishnavism, and Smartism. For over 200 years, Western scholars struggled to make sense of this. They saw people worshiping a dozen different gods as supreme, and some even invented a new word for it, henotheism, because polytheism didn't quite fit either. Here's what those scholars eventually understood, and what most casual observers still miss. Every one of these 4 denominations agrees on the deep architecture underneath. They all believe in karma. They all believe in reincarnation. They all believe in one supreme being who creates, sustains, and destroys the universe in endless cycles. They just disagree on that supreme being's name and form. They all accept the reality of temples, sacred pilgrimage sites, and the vast population of gods and devas who exist within those 3 worlds. And critically, none of them believe in an intrinsic, opposing evil the way Western religions often do. The cosmos in every one of these 4 systems is made out of God and soaked through with God's presence. So let's meet the 4. The largest of the 4, by a wide margin, is Vaishnavism. Based on the 2010 estimate by religious demographers Johnson and Grimm, roughly 641 million people, about 67.6% of all Hindus, follow this path. For a Vaishnava, Vishnu is not one god among many. Vishnu is the sole supreme being, the source from which every other deity in the Hindu pantheon ultimately flows. What makes Vaishnavism so massive is something most people don't realize. You may already be practicing a form of it without knowing the umbrella term. If you've ever heard of devotion to Krishna or devotion to Rama, you are looking at Vaishnavism. These are considered avatars, earthly descents, of Vishnu himself. Historians trace the roots of this tradition back to a fusion of older regional cults, particularly the worship of Vasudeva Krishna and Narayana, merging together somewhere between the 7th and 4th centuries BCE. And Vaishnavism didn't stay contained in India. In the mid-1900s, a monk named A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada carried the Gaudiya Vaishnava branch, the Krishna-centered lineage, to New York City, founding what the world now casually calls the Hare Krishna movement. That single act took a regional Indian devotional tradition and planted it on the street corners in America, and from there, across the globe. Shaivism. Second in size and arguably the oldest in spirit is Shaivism, the worship of Shiva as the supreme being. The same 2010 demographic estimate places Shaivism at roughly 253 million followers, about 26.6% of Hindus worldwide, making it comfortably the 2nd largest denomination on earth. For a Shaiva, Shiva is not just a destroyer, the role he's most known for in Western pop culture. Shiva is described by his followers as being all and in all, and simultaneously the creator, the preserver, the destroyer, the one who reveals and the one who conceals. You can often recognize a devoted Shaivite on sight. Sacred ash worn across the forehead and body is one of the tradition's most visible marks of reverence. Shaivism itself isn't a single monolith either. It splits further. In South India, especially Tamil Nadu and Sri Lanka, the dominant form is Shaiva Siddhanta. In Karnataka, a 12th century reformist movement called Virashaivism, or Lingayatism, developed its own 6 million strong following, centered on wearing a personal linga as their central sacred symbol. And in Kashmir, a completely different philosophical branch emerged, leaning toward a non-dual, yoga-oriented understanding of Shiva rather than devotional worship. One name, at least three distinct spiritual worlds underneath it. Shaktism. Then there is Shaktism, and this is the one that tends to surprise people most, because it flips the assumption that Hinduism's supreme divinity has to be male. In Shaktism, the supreme is Shakti, meaning power or energy, worshipped as a mother goddess, Devi, in her many forms and names. Demographically, Shaktism is the smallest of the four major streams, estimated around 3.2% of Hindus. But smallness in numbers has never meant smallness in influence. Shaktism carries some of the oldest and most intense devotional imagery in the entire tradition. Fierce, maternal, world-generating divine feminine power, worshipped not as a consort standing beside a male god, but as the ultimate reality itself. And finally, the denomination that doesn't insist on choosing at all, Smartism. This is often described as the liberal or non-sectarian branch of Hinduism. Smartas accept all the major deities, sometimes counted as 5, sometimes 6, as valid personifications of one underlying reality called Brahman. The word Smarta comes from Smriti, the body of remembered religious texts that follow on from the Vedas. Here's the twist. Smartism is newer than the other three, historically speaking, and today only a smaller circle, largely South Indian Brahmin communities, formally identify as Smarta. And yet in practice, Smartism might be the most quietly dominant worldview of all, because most contemporary Hindus, regardless of official denomination, worship multiple deities in daily life. In that sense, the non-sectarian option may be the one lived out by the largest number of people on the ground, even if it's not the one most people claim on a survey. Why this matters. So here's the real picture, according to religious historians. Vaishnavism, Shaivism, and Shaktism are ancient, predating any organized comparison between them. Smartism arrived later, as a kind of philosophical bridge across the other three. Beyond these four, smaller but still living traditions exist too. Ganapatya, devoted to Ganesha, and Saura, devoted to the sun, god Surya, among others. None of these four denominations deny the existence of the other's gods. A Vaishnava does not claim Shiva doesn't exist. A Shaiva does not claim Vishnu is false. They are, as one scholarly source put it, complementary streams within one civilizational river, not competing religions fighting for the same territory. That is the single hardest concept for an outsider to absorb about Hinduism, that radical theological diversity and total spiritual unity can coexist inside the same tradition without either one canceling the other out. 4 gods, 4 supreme claims, one eternal faith holding all of them at once, and that leaves us with the question worth sitting with. If you grew up inside this tradition, or married into it, or simply found yourself drawn to it after watching a video like this one, which denomination's vision of the divine feels closest to the truth as you understand it? Vishnu, the preserver, Shiva, the destroyer and revealer, Shakti, the mother of all power, or the Smarta's refusal to choose at all? Tell me in the comments. I read everyone. If this helped you actually understand Hinduism instead of just skimming the surface of it, hit like, share it with someone who'd find it as fascinating as you just did, subscribe for the next one, and consider joining the channel to support what we're building here.